The views of the guest are that of the guests and do not represent nor reflect the views and opinions of the Lockoutmen channel, the Recruiter Call channel, nor its host. This site content is for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only.
So let's do it. Let's talk about something that every time you turn on the news or you hear someone on TikTok or anybody in social media for that matter, over here talking about the crisis that is in trucking. Now, before we get into it, man, I just wanted to say this. I've been driving. It's 10 years this year, 2025. That's how long I've been driving. I only been with a small number of companies. Unfortunately, I know a few people that been in trucking for as long as I have, but ran through companies like you go through your morning cup of coffee. But that's not about this post, though. That's time for another video, I guess. But what I've been hearing throughout the years, year after year after year, it seems as though trucking has an employment problem. You want to know what that problem is? People keep saying,
"What's up, America? Trucking in the United States now." So here in the United States, we have two major problems. One is the high cost of diesel fuel, and the other one is a shortage of truckers. Yes, that's right. A lot of people don't talk about this, but here in the United States, there's been a trucker shortage for a very long time.
There's a driver shortage. Trucking companies are in desperate need to find people. But is that really the truth, though? In my opinion, if you want it, I know you guys didn't ask for it, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. There ain't no driver shortage. Come on now, there's trucking companies that have these CDL training schools. Every week they have a CDL orientation class. If not for getting the CDL or bringing people that's in that CDL. Companies like Swift, companies like Prime, Snyder, CR England, CRST, all of them has a orientation class every week. There's schools that's offering CDL classes every week. There's a popular TikToker that stepped out of trucking and to open up her own CDL school in Gaston, North Carolina. A trucking shortage, a truck driver shortage. Really? They say America is on the move, literally. The supply chains of trucks that's delivering everything from your morning cup of coffee to the phone that you listening to me on right now. The new Samsung Galaxy S25 without the Bluetooth support for the S Pen is now available. How do you think it got here? How do you think it got to your favorite carriers? It came by a truck. But if you listen to all these so-called TikTokers out here that knows everything, now I'm not saying that I know everything, which I don't, but if you listen to the brash majority of them, that's a narrative. That's a narrative to the point that the economy is on the verge of collapsing.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for listening. Today, we're going to go ahead and dive into the so-called trucker shortage and ask the hard question that nobody seems to want to answer. Is there really a lack of drivers, or are the trucking companies just failing to keep the ones that they already have? And what about the other problems truckers face every day, like critical shortage of parking, like unsustainable wages, like government overreach? Let's talk about all of that. Forget the driver shortage. Don't you think that these companies would probably do better if they would treat their drivers better, pay their drivers better, make their retention better? Don't you think that would be more sustainable than making this whole outcry about there's a truck driver shortage? About 80% of the world is going to need more truck drivers, and they're not interested in coming in here to work. Well, if you look at it from that standpoint, then yes, a lot of millennials, the new jacks are not interested in over-the-road truck driving like the old schoolers and the veterans were. No, they're looking for something home every day, and they want to make $2,000 a week, which is highly unattainable for a new driver. Maybe for a driver of my stature that been out here for a while, but new drivers that's coming in, you're reaching. You're not gonna get that in the first, maybe the second, definitely the third if you apply yourself. But the idea of a truck driver shortage has been around for years. And sure, if you're asking big trucking companies, they'll tell you right off the bat that they can't find enough drivers, which is BS in itself. But let's be for real, there's no shortage of people who want to drive trucks though. Every week, there's an orientation going on in these trucking companies every week. So there's no shortage of that. Every quarter, there are people are interested in getting their CDLs every quarter. There ain't no shortage in that. The problem isn't the lack of drivers though. It is that experienced ones are leaving and quitting. Why? Because trucking has become an unsustainable career for way too many people. Low pay, long hours, no real work-life balance. And that's what some of these people are looking for. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want to be out over the road. Some of these companies want you to stay out there for 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time. I don't want to do that. I got a life. I got a house. I got a car. I want to go to the movies. I don't want to be sitting in no truck stop. I don't want to be bumping dots. I'm good where I'm at. Out for a week, home on the weekend. But I do have a problem with that though. And what about home on the weekend? I need my 2 days. Now some trucking companies muddle the waters with that. Take a trucking company in Ohio, for example. You could be home for a full 2 days. Come home Friday, come back out Monday. But in order to do that, your pay is going to have to take a cut. That's crazy, right? But if you come and stay out and then come home for 34 hours, then you'll get a better pay. Is that good for work-life balance? I don't know. Imagine working 14-hour shifts, sleeping in your truck, barely seeing your family, and still struggling to make ends to meet. That's the reality for a lot of us out here. Can we really call it a shortage, or is it a retention problem? Think about these drivers that do decide to go local, that's only getting paid what Burger King workers and McDonald's workers and Walmart workers and Home Depot workers are making. Do local and we'll pay you $18 an hour. There's a company here in Ohio, out in Huron. Go on Indeed. They looking for local work. $18 an hour. But they want you to run your clock out. They want you to run the full 14 hours. And if you're doing local, the 11 hour, you're gonna run the whole 14. So is that good for $18 an hour? At least you local, at least you be home. But see, with this particular company, they gonna run you so much that you're not even you're gonna be burnt out. It's called a burnt out company. There's plenty of companies like that out there. Burnout companies. Burn you out so bad that, they force you to quit. Forget the retention because they got more drivers that's on standby. That driver burnt out. Okay, we'll bring in the next driver. That driver burnt out. We'll bring in the next driver. So I really don't think it's a driver shortage. I think it's a retention problem. That's what I think. You hear companies all the time talking about, we can't find drivers. But how much are y'all really paying though? Y'all only paying 50 cents a mile, 55 cents a mile, 60 cents a mile, 65 cents a mile. Of course, you're not going to find drivers that's been in the game for 10, 15, 20 years. They don't want that kind of money. That's an experience when you think about it. But they don't care because a new driver that's coming out of school, they're going to offer them the same amount. So forget the experience. A lot of trucking jobs pay by the mile, not by the hour. And if the truck's not moving, you're not getting paid. If you're sitting up in your truck doing the TikTok and you're at a truck stop and you still waiting on the next load, you're not getting paid. So I guess that's why everybody jump on TikTok thinking that there's money to be made in social media. That's another myth, but that's time for another video. A lot of these trucking jobs, they pay by the hour. They don't pay by the hour. Some companies are restructuring the way they pay. I talked to one company that is paying by the hour. They'll pay you for fueling up. They'll pay you if anything happened, if you're at a shipper or a receiver. But remember, even for the ones that are getting paid by the hour, you still got to get the shipper and receiver 2 hours of your own time before you can even get paid the $10 an hour after the detention pay, which means that you have to be there on time. So imagine you getting there 15 minutes late and they hem you up for damn near 8 to 10 hours. And you thinking that you're going to get that good 6 or 7 hour detention pay. And next thing you look at your paycheck the following week, only to notice that you only got paid $200 and you were supposed to have like 5 or 6, only to get paid $2 because of the detention pay. They didn't pay it because you was late by 5, 10, 15 minutes. See where I'm going with that? We're not getting paid for time spent being stuck in traffic, waiting for loads, dealing with breakdowns. Side note, I was broke down on the road for 8 hours. Now, luckily, I was with a company that did cover me for my breakdown, but some companies don't do that though. But I was on the road for 8 hours. That's a whole nother story too. Let's talk about the inflation drivers, the cost of food, fuel for the owner operators, maintenance for the owner operators has skyrocketed. But drivers' pay hasn't went up 45, 50, 60 cents a mile. And they're claiming it's a driver shortage. Well, let's start by giving better pay. Let's start with that. Companies expect truck drivers to eat those costs and keep America moving. So yeah, people are leaving trucking. Not because they don't want to work, but because they can't afford to stay. At least some of us, right? Here's something else that people not talking about. Let's talk about the parking crisis. Now, let me stop the show right there, because if there really was a truck driver shortage, would there be drivers out there fighting for all these parking spots, trying to get to a truck stop at a decent time to find a parking spot, knowing that after a certain time in a certain region, you won't be able to get in a parking spot? Then you had to end up parking along these roads, which you're not supposed to be parking. You're at the truck stop making parking spots on top of parking spots. You in rest areas that don't even allow overnight parking. You have to be gone within 2 or 3 hours. So if there was really a driver shortage, why is there so many drivers fighting for parking spots? Right now, there is about 11 truckers for every 1 parking spot available in America. You heard that right. You heard that right. Maybe my statistics might be a little bit off, but I think I'm spot on with this. I think I am. That means thousands of truckers are forced to park damn near illegally or drive exhausted looking for a place to rest. Not to mention the added stress of the ELD, which hurry ups and force you to park the truck so you won't go in violation. Nobody ain't talking about that though. What happened when you park illegally on these roads that you're not supposed to be parked on? Well, you're going to get a ticket. You're going to get fined. You're going to get booted. You're going to get even towed. And that's more money that's coming out of the driver's pocket. Now, even though that the company will pay for all of that, the company is going to get their lick back from the driver. Think about it. Think about it. They're going to get their lick back. Oh, yeah, they're going to get their lick back. They're going to get their lick back. Oh, don't worry about it. We're going to pay that $1,000 ticket for you. Here's the com data. Here's an EFS check. Give it to them. Bam. And then they'll pull you in the office. They'll either write you up or whatever the case. And then they'll be like, well, how you want to pay this back? You want us to take a half now next week, or you want to spread it across your paychecks until you pay that off? Meanwhile, safety regulators want to limit how many hours you can drive, which is 11 hours. Technically 8, because out of that 11 hours, you definitely going to need 2 of those hours to find parking in the first place. Unless you work for one of these black op companies out of Ohio, here in particular, that they want you to drive your hours all the way out to next to nothing, and then they'll let you figure it out from there. I'm just saying. They don't provide us with a safe place to rest. This isn't just an inconvenience for us, it's dangerous. Fatigued drivers means more accidents. Rest in peace to that super ego driver. We don't know the situation, so I'm not even going to speculate. The problem was something happened which forced him to crash into that bridge. We don't know, but rest in peace to that driver, and my condolences goes out to that family. This isn't just an inconvenience for us, but nobody is talking about that though. Everybody and their mama is talking about, oh, the trucking industry have a driver shortage. Really? Let's talk about the government overreach on some of this shit, right? With the forced ELDs and everything. The trucking industry is drowning in regulations. There's new regulations every year for us. Electronic logging device, the ELDs that track every second of our driver time, limiting how long we can work. In theory, this is for safety, but in practice, it makes our lives harder. Now, I get it. For safety purposes, yes, you really don't want nobody to be driving tired. You don't want nobody to be driving fatigued. I get it. I understand. But this is, instead of being a safety issue, is more of a prolonged issue, because now it forced the driver to start doing things that he wouldn't do in practice. If a driver runs out of hours while waiting at a warehouse, guess what? We can't move. Even if we're like 30 minutes away from home and the clock runs out, that's too bad. We have to pull over and we have to shut down for the 10 hours or maybe the 34 hours that the truck had to shut down. Now, mind you, this does not mean for the person. It means for the truck. Means that the truck can't move in 10 hours. The truck can't move in 34 hours. In theory, we supposed to be resting. We supposed to be resetting. In practice,
take a few steps back.
But if you get stuck at a truck stop, let's say you run out of hours and you at a truck stop, and you so happen to get to a truck stop that you had to pay, which nobody ain't talking about that either. That's another story as well. But you had to pay for parking, but yet you're one of those hard-hit drivers that think that the truck stop should cater to us, refuse to move. And then what? Well, I will tell you what happened, because this is a story. Truck driver refused to move. The fuel station called the police. The police asked him to move. And you want to know what happened to that driver because he refused to move? He got tasered, truck got towed, he went to jail. Now his job is in jeopardy. Can't move the truck because you're out of hours. But some companies do offer PC. You gotta literally let them know what you need to use PC for. Now, my previous company, they was cool with the PC. Some of the time. If it was PC for me and I needed to get somewhere, it was. But if it was PC for them and I need to get somewhere, it's not a problem. Go ahead and PC. While big trucking companies can afford to work around these rules, which they do, they find loopholes in these regulations all the time. Black op companies, my previous company. Smaller independent drivers who are the backbone of the industry are getting pushed out. So drivers, what is the fix? What is the fix in all this? Because the problem isn't a driver shortage. I just went over a handful of problems that we are facing on the day-to-day challenge. First off, let's stop pretending. This is just about getting more people behind the wheel. The industry needs to pay drivers fairly. Come on. 60 cents a mile should be a starting pay. But for drivers that got the experience, we need more. Improve working conditions and invest in a parking solution. Second, and this is just my opinion. Now, don't take this for word. This This is a commentary. This is what I do on this channel. This is my opinion. Regulations should actually help truckers and not punish us. There needs to be a balance between safety and giving drivers the flexibility to do our jobs. And finally, the public needs to wake up to how important trucking really is. Everything you buy moves on a truck. And like the old cliche goes, if truckers stop, America stop. But I can tell you this much though, if you can hear me, truckers will never stop because there's gonna always be somebody that's gonna move something damn near for money. Keep that in mind. So I'm just gonna leave this right here for you guys, and thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it, man. If y'all mess with your boy, man, hit that like button for me, okay? Hit that like button if you mess with me. And if you want commentary, reactions like this or more, join the channel, because my channel members, shout out to them, they get the videos first. So I'm just gonna leave this right here, man. What do you drivers think is the biggest problem in trucking right now? Is it pay, parking, government overreach? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. These are the conversations that we need to have. And the trucking industry is the 80% of drivers that they're gonna need because of a driver shortage. Till next time, everybody.